Are you guys following the Liver King stuff? And I got to tell you, I was a little surprised that this has become the forefront and a topic specifically within MMA. I mean, Eddie Alvarez and Demetrius Johnson, Tyler Minton is trying to fight him. Mick Maynard has contacted the Liver King to see if he wants to fight him. Specifically, it was like our community that for some, Joe Rogan weighed in on this. Derek and Coach Greg, that are extended members of our community. They cover our sport all the time and our athletes. I'm just sharing with you, like, for some reason, MMA and the Liver King, and it starts bouncing off. Now, I thought I was like the first one to this party. I told you guys a number of years ago, the first time I saw this guy's on steroids. But I did that to get myself credit, not to pull him down, right? Like to call it out. But well, now that everybody is calling it out, I feel as though I should just stay away from the topic. Like that's generally not the direction that I go in, piling on, or jumping into something that somebody else has already said. Like once it's said. But from the PR standpoint, the Liver King put out an apology. Now, this was going to be a tough lie to tell. All lies are tough lies, particularly in the world of social media. I mean, once upon a time in my lifetime, within my time on this planet, you could rob a bank and move 2 cities away and they'll never find you. Never. There wasn't social media. There wasn't a way to get around. There wasn't Crime Stoppers. There wasn't 1-800 numbers. You could go into an alias in Arizona, and by the time you catch a train, you get off in Portland, Oregon, you will have a completely different life. I mean, it was just like a different time. And when I tell you, it was always a matter of time for the Liver King to be caught because everybody has a cyber footprint. And whether it was going to be DMs or it was going to be Twitter or the guy that he's buying the roids from decides that he wants some kind of credit. That you're taking the roids that I'm selling you and you're making a pile of money and I'm just getting what roids cost. Like things just get weird. It's really hard to keep a secret. Particularly one like this. Okay, great. So the Liver King comes out. He gives an apology. Now, the cover-up is always worse than the crime. Every single time. Every single time in politics, you'll see the guy deals with shame. Why do you lie as a human being? Because you deal with shame. They'll ask him a question that would bring him shame, and he will give an answer not knowing they got a photograph to the contrary or something along these lines. Now, if he would have just said yes in the first place, we'd already be past it. The cover-up is always worse than the crime. Liver King comes out with an apology. And it was a tough one from the beginning. And by tough one, trying to determine, did he succeed or did he fail? See, the apology is not to actually say, I'm sorry, right? With an apology, that is media. That is the PR move. That is the press. How do I look when it's done? Not a matter of let me come out and do something because it's the right thing to do. Now, I'm not faulting the Liver King there. That's everybody that's ever given an apology. I watched Tiger Woods come out and read one. It wasn't even his own words. He paid somebody to write it. He didn't even take the time to memorize it. He came out and he read it. So there's a number of ways to do these. The Liver King chose to do his in character. He chose to do it with the t-shirt off and after he made up the hair, and he chose to come out and keep the voice and keep the ancestral tenets. Is that good or bad? Comes out within the apology to talk about the fact that he had used steroids in the past and currently, but that they didn't work. Talked about, I believe it was Anavar, I know for sure he referenced Winstrol, but that they didn't work, and he defined they didn't work by keeping his levels, which you guys don't even know what in the hell that means, below normal. Now, he's talking about a blood draw, and you've got certain levels, and you'll always see a guy that's trying to get around something when he starts trying to use terms that you don't know. This will never cease working. I will see politicians elected to office because they're foreign policy experts, and they might know the difference in Iraq and Iran, and they'll slip their way Gaza Strip in there, and now maybe they even know Palestine. Like, there's certain things that they can say. They'll bring up Mook Medijad, and you'll be completely lost, and you go, well, that guy's an expert. This never goes away, and in the world of nutrition, it is at an absolute forefront. If you know what a picogram is, you instantly become the smartest guy in the room. So when he starts talking about levels and he starts talking about normal and he starts talking about some of these steroids didn't bring his level above. You sit back and you wonder why. Why claim that? Why say that it didn't work? What is the message there? What is the story that you're trying to tell? And it's very hard. It's very hard. I have a friend that's a DA in New York City, right? Massive, and you got crime, and it's a big city, so I reference it. And they'll get a guy all the time that broke into somebody's house and stole his stuff. They'll have him. They'll have his fingerprints. It turns out that guy's got a Ring doorbell and watched him kicking it in. They'll then go down to the hawk shop where these things are being sold, and they'll show the guy the video of him walking in the store, holding the stuff and getting the cash. They'll have him. He's busted, and the guy will admit that he did it. He'll admit it. Not that there's much room for denying it there, but he will make a full admission. Now, while he was at the person's house robbing them, and this is very common for burglars, they will do like a dog and mark their territory. They will take themselves out and they will pee on the person's floor. It's an extremely common thing. And you will get the guy to give an absolute full admits. Here's the time. Here's the day. Here's my motivation. Here I am on film. Here's who I sold to. Here's how much money. I did not pee on his floor. I did not do that. I did not mark my territory. That's gross. And you'll never, according to my friend who's a DA, get one to go, yeah, and I peed on his floor too. Never. Zero amount of times, according to my quoting right now. And there's something within that where when you get a guy, you'll get a guy to come really close, but he just won't go all the way. He just won't. I took Winstrol. I took Anavar. My levels remained under normal. There is no blood test for Anavar. There is no blood test for Winstrol. Just so you know. There is no normal, there is no low, there is no high. Just so you know. I know this stuff's going to confuse you instantly. As soon as I see CBC, you're going to go out and Google what CBC stands for, complete blood count. There is no test. There is no normal range. There is no low, there is no high end on Winstrol or on Anavar. So it was a very weird comment that he made. They get the smart mark in the room to say, Chael, he's referencing his complete blood count. He's referencing his free and normal range testosterone. Yeah. Don't think I'm not aware of that. But why you would claim that it didn't work? And why didn't it work? Right, I mean, that would just lead you to another thing. Were you buying bad stuff? Did you mix this yourself? Did you not know what you're doing? It's just this really weird claim. And of course, it was in the past, and there's some done today, but that's monitored by a doctor. It's like, no, that's not true. There's not a doctor that monitors you and has you at the levels that you're at. You would have to have, if you were doing it only above board, you were only buying stuff pharmaceutical grade and you were doing it right way, you would have to have 3 and 4 and possibly even 5 doctors that don't know the other ones exist. They think they're the only doctor. That's okay. I'm just commenting on, do you think this was a successful PR piece or not? Did he owe an apology when he did the PR piece? Should have he stayed in character? Should have he had the t-shirt off? Should have he edited this? Should have he planned it? Should have it been scripted? Should his hat have been in his hand more? And moreover, with an apology is what is different now. Tiger Woods, when he gave an apology, it was a little while ago, but it was something to do with traffic. He did something in traffic. He was driving impaired, and I want to say he hit something. But when he gave the apology, whether you wanted to accept it or not, Tiger was also telling you, I'm not going to do that anymore. Number one thing that you have to have from me is I had a bad action that involved me driving while intoxicated. I'm not going to drive while intoxicated. That's the number one thing that you have to get from that. The Liver King is telling you about anabolic agents he had. He's apologizing for you lying, but he's not telling you I'm going to stop. And that was one of the parts that made it a very different apology. My children will do this, where they have to say sorry to one. They did something. Well, okay, you're sorry, and that's a sincere apology if you're telling us that's going to stop. You're not going to do whatever that is again. And that was no part of it. It was, hey, I've lied to you guys. I've lied to you from the beginning. Here's what I'm actually doing. I'm sorry. I'm going to continue to keep doing it. Like, which part? You're going to continue to do the anabolics? You're going to continue to tell us that you didn't do it, or it's just going to be both of them? I'm going to. It's an interesting spot. I'm just wondering how you think he did. How did you think the apology went? I don't feel that we've ever needed to pick on the Liver King for steroids. The only reason that becomes an issue, if he, in fact, is working with a doctor, but just so you know, you guys hear about these steroids all the time. One thing that nobody takes the time to tell you, because athletes have used them to cheat, to give it a bad rap, but they don't take the time to tell you, is there's a number of anabolic agents, and that's all you have to be to go into the category of steroid. All you have to be is an anabolic agent, and if you do, a number of them are legal. A lot of them are good medicine, according to doctors. They can be prescribed. You can be in possession of this completely legally. You can inject yourself at a coffee shop in front of a police officer, and there's absolutely no problem if you have a prescription. I'm just sharing for you. That's the side of it where Liver King really doesn't have to say that he's sorry. Where it becomes a problem where people get their feelings hurt is when you come out and you give a message to somebody that's depressed or somebody that's down or somebody that's going to use diet and exercise as a way of making their life more happy and more positive, and you leave the part out that you're taking chemical agents. That can be tough because you get somebody to follow you and the time goes by and the year goes by, and now they're even more depressed because they're doing what you're doing and they're not getting near the results. It has a reverse effect to what it is you're advertising. Now, Liver King, I would trust, doesn't care in the slightest about any of those things, but you say that you do as a way of selling it and get people to come along the journey. Like, I don't feel that we ever needed to pick on that guy for steroids, for how much time he lays in a tanning bed. Like, I don't know if those are real things to tease somebody for. Like, here, let me just take your ideas on of ancestral living. If you guys want to do that, more power to you. I don't. I want to go into the future. And I'm just talking about me. I don't want to ride horses around. I don't want to have to catch my own food. I don't want to have to be face to face with somebody to talk as opposed to calling them on a cell phone. Like, if you want to send me one way, send me forward 100 years. I'd be very curious what that looked like, but people, they want to go back to the ancestors. It's one of these very strange things. I don't know what ancestors did so well. I don't know what I heard about them. You're getting married at 14 and you're off to war and dead, and you got a life expectancy of 36 years old. You got no doctors and no medicine, and you don't even have access to a certain amount of knowledge, not to mention the comfort. I mean, this is a guy telling you, I wish that we lived in ancestral time when he's in front of a camera. I mean, could you even imagine? They wouldn't even know what it was. It's a very bizarre message. It's not a true message. There was an apology that came out that wasn't sincere. It's not, I'm going to stop. I'm going to, what are you sorry for? If you're not going to stop, what are you sorry for? I don't care about any of those things. I don't care about the merit of any of it. I think you might want to look yourself in the mirror. If you want to go back to the yesterday, you're on the warrior diet, you're doing any of that stuff, you might want to look in the mirror. You're a bit of a nerd. Like, you and I aren't going to be hanging out. But then again, if you and I did hang out, you'd have to drive over in your car, which wouldn't exist, and we probably have a television on, which doesn't exist. So, I mean, if you want to go back to, you do that. You go right ahead. Can you give an apology for something that you don't plan to stop? Are you actually sorry for something that you're going to continue to do? And moreover, as far as coming out and getting in front of this thing, because this was never going to end. You have people like me who will do two things. You'll have somebody like me that comes like, man, I don't care about the Liver King. Well, why are you talking about it? Okay, I guess I do to some degree. And then you want to be such a hall monitor. You want to point a finger at him and let the world know, I know you're doing it. It's this really weird thing, but I have it. Whatever that weird thing is, I have it. I will tell you, I don't care about the Liver King while talking about him. And I will tell you that I don't care that he uses steroids while talking about the fact that he uses steroids and he's lying. So that was never going to end. So the choices that he has is every single day, do you have people in the know coming at you and saying you're a liar? Or do you get out and let the world know those people are right, I lied, moving forward, I'm going to continue doing the same thing, right? I mean, it was just a PR move that he did while in character, still playing Liver King, not playing Brian Johnson. What do you think? in your mind's eye, is the Liver King in a better spot today than he was yesterday?